Welcome back to the 1 Hour Guide by Anil Nathu.
Oh,
Today we're diving deep into Brené Brown's 10 guideposts for wholehearted living
okay.
from her incredible book, The Gifts of Imperfection.
Right.
You know, sometimes it feels like we're just going through the motions,
Yeah.
not really living life to the fullest.
That's where the idea of wholehearted living comes in.
Yeah.
It's about embracing who you truly are. The good, the bad, and the perfectly imperfect.
Right.
And it's especially powerful for leaders and entrepreneurs because, let's face it, we're
Yeah.
often expected to have it all figured out.
It's like we're supposed to be these superhuman robots
Right.
who never make mistakes.
But what's fascinating about Brown's research is that it actually shows vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness.
Exactly. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable,
Yeah.
you build trust and connection with your team and customers.
Yeah.
Think about the leaders you admire most. They're probably not the ones who pretend to be perfect.
Right.
They're the ones who are real, relatable,
Yeah.
and genuinely care about others.
Okay.
All right, so let's unpack these 10 guideposts one by one.
Okay.
We'll explain what each one means,
No.
why it's important,
Yeah.
especially for those of us leading teams and building businesses, and then give you some actionable steps to start putting them into practice.
Okay. Sounds good.
Starting with guidepost number 1,
Okay.
cultivating authenticity by letting go of what people think.
You know, so many of us,
Right.
especially in the business world, get caught up in trying to please everyone and fit in.
Right.
We worry about what people will think, what they'll say,
Yeah.
and we end up hiding parts of ourselves.
We become chameleons.
Right.
Constantly shifting to blend in.
Yeah.
Instead of standing out as our authentic selves.
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing is, people can sense when someone isn't being genuine,
Right.
and it erodes trust.
And think about the personal cost of living inauthentically.
Yeah.
It's exhausting trying to be someone you're not.
It's like you're living someone else's life.
It leads to burnout stress.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you end up losing sight of your own goals and values.
Yeah. It's like you're living someone else's life instead of your own.
Right. So how do we cultivate authenticity?
Right.
First, get clear on your values.
Okay.
What truly matters to you?
Mhm.
What are your non-negotiables?
It's like figuring out your personal compass.
Right.
What guides your decisions?
What do you want to be known for?
Yeah.
Once you have that clarity, it's much easier to make choices that align with your authentic self.
And don't be afraid to set boundaries.
Yeah.
Saying no to things that don't align with your values
Right.
frees up your time and energy for the things that do.
It's about protecting your space
Yeah.
and making sure your actions reflect who you truly are.
And it's not selfish.
Right.
It's actually essential for being the best leader and entrepreneur you can be.
Now on to guidepost 2,
Okay.
cultivating self-compassion
Right.
by letting go of perfectionism.
Perfectionism.
Right.
That sneaky little trap.
It's so common, especially among high achievers.
right.
We set these impossibly high standards for ourselves
Yeah.
and then beat ourselves up when we inevitably fall short.
You know, I struggle with this one too.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in wanting to launch the perfect product or create the perfect strategy.
Yeah.
But that can actually lead to procrastination and missed opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Perfectionism is often rooted in fear.
Right.
Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough.
Yeah.
And it can be paralyzing.
So how do we break free from this perfectionism trap
Right.
and start cultivating self-compassion?
Yeah.
What does that even look like in practice?
Well, think about it this way.
Okay.
How would you talk to a close friend who was struggling or had made a mistake? You wouldn't berate them or tell them they're a failure, right?
Right.
You'd offer kindness, understanding, and support.
You'd remind them that everyone makes mistakes, that it's part of being human.
Exactly.
Right.
So why not extend that same compassion to ourselves?
Right.
One practical step is to simply notice when your inner critic
Yeah.
is being particularly harsh.
Mm-hmm.
That voice that tells you you're not good enough,
Right.
or that you should be doing more,
Right.
and then challenge those thoughts with self-compassionate statements.
Okay.
Instead of saying, I'm such an idiot for making that mistake,
Right.
try saying something like,
Okay.
everyone makes mistakes. It's okay to learn from this.
It's about reframing those negative thoughts.
Right.
And treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding
Yeah.
that we would offer to someone we care about.
Right. And remember, self-compassion isn't about letting ourselves off the hook
Right.
or lowering our standards.
Right.
It's about creating a more supportive and encouraging inner environment. so we can learn, grow, and reach our full potential.
This reminds me of something Anil Nathu talks about in 1 Hour Guide.
Yeah.
The importance of having a growth mindset.
Absolutely.
Believing that we can learn and develop our abilities even when we make mistakes.
Self-compassion and a growth mindset go hand in hand.
Okay, ready to move on to Guidepost 3?
Yes, let's do it.
This one is all about cultivating a resilient spirit.
Okay.
By letting go of numbing and powerlessness.
Resilience is essential for leaders and entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Because we face a lot of challenges and setbacks.
Right.
It's that ability to bounce back from adversity, not just survive, but actually thrive through those tough times.
But I think sometimes we confuse resilience with just pushing through and pretending like everything's fine.
That's where numbing comes in.
Right.
It's about avoiding those uncomfortable feelings. Maybe we distract ourselves with work or social media or unhealthy habits to avoid dealing with the pain or disappointment.
It's like we're trying to outrun our feelings, but they always catch up eventually, don't they?
They do. And then there's powerlessness.
Right.
That feeling of being stuck.
Yeah.
Like you have no control over your situation.
Yeah, I've definitely felt that way when things haven't gone as planned.
Right.
Like I'm just being tossed around by external forces.
So if we want to cultivate true resilience, we have to face those uncomfortable feelings head on.
Okay.
We have to acknowledge our vulnerability and practice emotional awareness.
So instead of trying to numb or ignore our emotions, we need to learn to sit with them, understand them, and then choose how we respond.
Exactly.
So step 1 is awareness.
Okay.
Pay attention to your emotional responses.
Right.
What happens when you face a challenge?
Yeah.
Do you shut down?
Do you get angry?
Get angry?
Do you try to distract yourself?
Try to distract yourself?
Once you're aware of your patterns, you can start to choose healthier coping mechanisms.
Instead of reaching for that extra glass of wine or mindlessly scrolling through Instagram, maybe we go for a run or call a supportive friend or spend time doing something we actually enjoy. And another key step is to shift your focus from what you can't control to what you can control. You might not be able to control the market or the actions of your competitors, but you can control your own response, your attitude, and the effort you put in.
It's about taking ownership of our own actions and choices, even in the face of difficult circumstances.
And that's a powerful way to build resilience.
It is.
This is such a great reminder. And honestly, this whole deep dive is making me realize how much these guideposts are all interconnected.
They really are.
Yeah, they build on each other.
Okay, let's keep going.
Okay, let's keep going.
Guidepost 4 is all about cultivating gratitude and joy.
I love this one. By letting go of scarcity and fear of the dark.
It's so easy to get caught up in what's missing, what we're worried about, especially in the fast-paced business world. We can develop this scarcity mentality where we never feel like we have enough enough time, enough money, enough success.
And it's exhausting. It's like we're constantly running on a treadmill, chasing after something that always feels just out of reach.
And then there's the fear of the dark. That lurking feeling that something bad is always about to happen. Even when things are going well.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Yeah.
It can really rob you of the joy of the present moment.
So how do we break free from these negative thought patterns?
But how do we break free from these negative thought patterns?
One of the most powerful antidotes is gratitude.
I've heard so much about gratitude journals. Where you write down a few things you're grateful for each day. Does that actually work?
It really can. It's about retraining your brain to focus on the positive. It's a simple shift in perspective. But it can have a profound impact on your overall well-being.
It's like choosing to focus on the abundance in your life rather than the scarcity.
Another important practice is celebrating small wins. We often wait for those big milestones to celebrate, but acknowledging the small victories along the way can boost our mood and keep us motivated.
It's like giving yourself little pats on the back for all the effort you're putting in.
And remember, joy is a practice. It's not something that just happens to us. We have to cultivate it. Practice being present in the moment. Savor those good experiences and don't let fear steal your joy.
Love that.
Okay,
on to Guidepost 5.
All right.
Cultivating intuition and trusting faith. By letting go of the need for certainty.
We live in a world that values certainty. But the truth is, life is messy and unpredictable.
Right.
And trying to control every outcome can actually be counterproductive.
Yeah. This one is interesting because it seems counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Especially in the business world, where we're often taught to rely on data and logic.
Intuition is that gut feeling that goes beyond logic and data.
Right.
It's informed by our experiences, our emotions, and even our subconscious mind.
So it's not just some woo-woo mystical thing.
Right.
It's actually based on our accumulated knowledge and wisdom.
Exactly.
But how do you know when to trust your intuition?
Right.
Especially when making important business decisions.
It's a practice just like anything else. Start by paying attention to your body and your emotions.
Okay.
What are they telling you? Often our intuition speaks to us through physical sensations or gut feelings.
I've definitely had moments where my body was screaming no.
Yeah.
Even when my head was saying yes.
And remember, you've accumulated a lot of experience and wisdom over the years.
Right.
Trust those insights.
So it's about integrating our intuition with our rational thinking.
Yeah.
Not ignoring it.
And what about faith?
Right. And what about faith? I know that word can be loaded for some people.
I know that word can be loaded for some people.
Yeah, I can conjure up images of religion or blind belief.
In this context, faith isn't necessarily about religion.
Right.
It's about trusting the process of life, even when things are uncertain.
Right.
It's about believing that things will unfold as they're meant to.
Right.
Even when we don't have all the answers.
It's about surrendering to the unknown.
Yeah.
And having confidence that we can handle whatever comes our way.
And that can be incredibly liberating.
All right, we're on a roll.
Okay.
Guidepost 6 is Cultivating Creativity by letting go of comparison.
In today's world,
it's so easy to compare ourselves to others.
Yeah, it is.
Especially with social media constantly bombarding us with seemingly perfect lives and achievements.
And it's a recipe for misery.
Right. And it's a recipe for misery.
Comparison is the thief of joy, as they say. It can be so destructive to our creativity.
It's like we're constantly measuring ourselves against some impossible standard and coming up short.
Right.
We end up imitating instead of innovating.
Right.
And we start to doubt our own unique talents and abilities.
So how do we break free from this comparison trap and unleash our creativity?
So how do we break free from this comparison trap?
First, notice when comparison is happening and pay attention to how it makes you feel.
Right.
If you're feeling inadequate, jealous, or discouraged, that's a sign that comparison is at play.
Right.
Then make a conscious effort to shift your focus.
Okay.
Remember, everyone is on their own unique journey.
It's like comparing apples and oranges.
Right.
Everyone has their own strengths, weaknesses, and experiences.
Another important step is to focus on the process of creating, not just the outcome. When you're engrossed in the act of creating.
Yeah.
Whether it's writing, brainstorming, problem solving, or building a product, you're less likely to get caught up in comparing yourself to others.
It's about finding joy in the journey, not just the destination.
Exactly. And remember to celebrate your unique strengths.
Right.
What makes you different? What special talents or perspectives do you bring to the table?
Right.
Embrace those qualities and don't be afraid to stand out.
I love this. Okay. We're making great progress.
Okay.
Ready for Guidepost 7.
Yeah, bring it on.
Cultivating play and rest by letting go of exhaustion as a status symbol and productivity as self-worth.
We wear our exhaustion like a trophy.
This one hits close to home because in our always-on culture, being busy has become a weird badge of honor, especially for leaders and entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
There's this pressure to be constantly working, always available.
Thinking it makes us look important or dedicated.
Right.
But the truth is, this mindset is a recipe for burnout.
Yeah, and it's unsustainable and ultimately detrimental to our well-being and our performance.
Right.
It's like we've forgotten how to rest and play.
Yeah.
We're so obsessed with productivity that we've lost sight of the fact that downtime is actually essential for doing our best work.
Brown points out that rest and play are not rewards.
Yeah.
They're essential ingredients for a fulfilling and successful life.
Right.
When we're well rested and allow ourselves to have fun, we're more creative, more resilient, and simply more enjoyable to be around.
And as leaders, the energy we bring to our teams is contagious.
It is.
If we're constantly stressed and burnt out, that's going to trickle down and create a toxic work environment.
Absolutely.
Right.
A leader who values rest and play creates a culture where employees feel safe to take breaks, to recharge, and to bring their full energy and creativity to their work.
So how do we start shifting this mindset?
Right.
How do we prioritize rest and play
Right.
when we're so used to glorifying busyness?
It starts with awareness.
Hmm.
Recognize that rest and play are not indulgences. They're investments in your well-being and your success.
Right.
And then schedule it.
Yeah.
Literally block out time in your calendar for rest and play.
Right.
Just like you schedule meetings and work tasks.
Hmm.
Make appointments with yourself for downtime.
And it doesn't have to be anything fancy.
Right.
It could be taking a 15-minute walk in nature.
Yeah.
Reading a book for an hour before bed.
Yeah.
Or spending time with loved ones without checking your phone.
Exactly. And remember, you're setting an example for your team.
Right.
When you prioritize rest and play, you're giving them permission to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
You're creating a culture where well-being is valued, not just productivity.
And honestly, that probably leads to more productivity in the long run.
It probably does.
Because people are happier, healthier, and more engaged.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired to schedule some playtime into my week.
Good for you.
Ready for Guidepost 8.
Okay, let's go.
Cultivating calm and stillness.
All right.
By letting go of anxiety as a lifestyle.
Anxiety is a huge problem these days.
Anxiety is a huge problem these days.
And it can become so normalized that we start to think it's just a part of life.
And it can become so normalized that we start to think it's just a part of life.
But living with constant anxiety is exhausting and unhealthy.
Yeah.
It takes a toll on our physical and emotional well-being.
It's like we're always on edge.
Yeah.
Waiting for the next crisis to hit.
We become reactive instead of proactive.
Yeah.
Constantly putting out fires instead of focusing on what truly matters.
Especially for leaders, it's so important to learn how to cultivate calm.
Yeah.
Not just for our own well-being,
but
also because our emotional state impacts our teams.
Anxiety is contagious.
Yeah, anxiety is contagious.
If we're constantly stressed and anxious, our teams will pick up on that energy and mirror it back to us, creating this vicious cycle of stress and anxiety.
So how do we break free from this pattern?
Right.
How do we cultivate calm and stillness when it feels like the world is spinning faster and faster?
Well, first, let's define what we mean by calm and stillness.
Okay.
Calmness, as Brown defines it, is about creating perspective and managing our emotional reactivity.
Right.
It's about responding to situations thoughtfully instead of just reacting emotionally.
It's about having that pause button.
Right.
That ability to take a step back and assess the situation before jumping into action.
And stillness is about creating space for quiet reflection.
Okay.
It's about quieting the mind and tuning into our inner wisdom.
Which can feel almost impossible in today's world.
It can.
We're constantly bombarded with information and distractions. It's like our brains never get a break.
But it's essential.
But it is.
Even just a few minutes of stillness each day can make a huge difference in our ability to manage stress, make better decisions, and cultivate calm.
So how do we create those pockets of stillness?
Yeah.
Give us the goods. How do we start cultivating calm and stillness?
One of the most powerful tools is mindfulness.
Okay.
It's about paying attention to the present moment without judgment.
Right.
Noticing our thoughts and feelings without getting swept away by them.
There are so many mindfulness techniques out there.
There are.
Meditations, deep breathing yoga.
Yeah.
Where do we even begin?
Start with something simple.
Okay.
Like taking a few deep breaths before a meeting, or paying attention to the sensations of your body as you walk.
Okay.
Even small moments of mindfulness can help you feel more grounded and centered.
And what about meditation?
Okay.
I've always been intimidated by it.
Yeah, I understand.
Thinking I need to be some sort of Zen master to do it right.
You don't need to be a Zen master.
Right.
Start with just 5 minutes a day. There are tons of apps and guided meditations available online, which can be a great way to get started.
And then gradually work your way up to longer meditations as you feel more comfortable.
Another important tip is to set boundaries.
Okay.
Anxiety often stems from feeling overwhelmed and overcommitted.
Boundaries are like our personal protectors.
Yeah, they are. They help us protect our time, energy, and emotional well-being.
Yeah.
Learn to say no to commitments that drain you or don't align with your priorities.
And remember, it's okay to ask for help.
It is.
We don't have to do everything ourselves.
Right.
In fact, delegating and asking for support can be a sign of strength, not weakness.
Absolutely.
And it can free up your time and energy to focus on the things that truly matter.
It can.
All right, let's keep moving.
Okay.
Guidepost 9 is cultivating meaningful work
Right.
by letting go of self-doubt.
Okay.
And Supposed to.
So many of us end up in jobs we hate because we're chasing money, prestige, or what we're supposed to do instead of following our true passions.
It's like we're living someone else's dream instead of our own.
And it can lead to a deep sense of unfulfillment and even resentment.
Right.
Yeah.
But it can be hard to break free from that supposed to mentality.
It can.
Especially when it's coming from our family's society.
Right.
Or even our own internalized beliefs about what success should look like.
Brown emphasizes that meaningful work isn't about the job title or the paycheck.
Right.
It's about doing something that aligns with our values.
Right.
And makes us feel like our work has purpose.
And that resonated so strongly with 1 Hour Guide by Anil Nathu.
It did.
He's always encouraging people to find their purpose and align their actions with their values.
It's a powerful concept.
It's a powerful concept.
When we're engaged in meaningful work,
right,
we feel more energized, more motivated, and more fulfilled.
But self-doubt and that supposed to mentality can be such huge obstacles.
They can. Self-doubt whispers in our ear telling us we're not good enough or that we'll never succeed.
Right.
And the pressure of supposed to keeps us stuck in jobs that don't fulfill us, even if they look successful from the outside.
Yeah. It's like we're trapped in a golden cage.
Exactly. So if we want to cultivate meaningful work, we need to let go of those limiting beliefs and start tuning into our own inner compass.
But how do we actually do that?
Well, step one is to identify your core values. What truly matters to you?
Okay.
What kind of impact do you want to make in the world?
Yeah.
Once you have clarity on your values, you can start making decisions that are aligned with those values, even if they mean taking risks or stepping outside of your comfort zone.
And sometimes we need to redefine what success means to us.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be about money or status. It can be about making a difference, pursuing your passions, or simply living a life that feels authentic and aligned.
Absolutely. Success is a very personal thing.
And don't be afraid to experiment.
Right.
If you're feeling stuck in a job that doesn't feel meaningful, start exploring other options.
Right.
Take courses, volunteer, or even start a side hustle to test out different career paths.
It's about taking action and trusting that you'll find your way.
Okay, we've come to the final guidepost. Cultivating laughter, song, and dance. By letting go of being cool and always in control.
In a world that often feels so serious and controlled.
This one might sound a bit out there, but stick with me.
Yeah. Right. We sometimes forget how to let loose and have fun.
We get so caught up in being professional and maintaining a certain image that we lose sight of the importance of play and lightness.
But Brown argues that these expressions of joy.
Right, but Brown argues that these expressions of joy are actually essential for our well-being and for building strong relationships.
Right.
Laughter, song, and dance help us connect with ourselves, with others, and with the joy of being alive.
Right.
I can see how laughter can break down barriers and create a sense of camaraderie.
Yes.
It's like this universal language that transcends differences and brings people together.
Yes. And singing and dancing, whether we're good at them or not, are about expressing ourselves freely and connecting with our emotions.
So how do we integrate this into our lives?
Okay.
Especially as leaders and entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't exactly see myself breaking into a dance routine during a board meeting.
Well, it doesn't have to be that literal.
Right.
It's more about the underlying principles.
Right.
Letting go of the need to be perfect or in control.
Right.
Allowing yourself to experience joy and creating space for spontaneity and fun.
So maybe it's about having a laugh with your team.
Yeah.
Putting on some music during the workday.
Right.
Or celebrating a win with a spontaneous dance party.
Exactly.
Little things like that can make a big difference in your overall mood and energy.
And remember, as a leader.
You set...
All right, let's revisit Brené Brown's 10 guideposts this time with a focus on practical application. Starting with guidepost 1. Cultivating authenticity. Remember, this is about letting go of what people think and embracing who you truly are.
Easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
But I'm ready to dig deeper. Where do we even begin?
It starts with self-awareness. Take some time to reflect on your core values. What truly matters to you? What are your non-negotiables? Once you've identified these, start making decisions that align with those values, even if it means going against the grain.
So if one of my core values is integrity, I need to make sure my actions in the workplace, the way I lead my team, all reflect that commitment to integrity.
Precisely. And don't be afraid to set boundaries to protect your time, energy, and values. Saying no to things that don't align with your authentic self is a powerful way to cultivate authenticity. Think of it like this. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't resonate with you, you're saying no to something that does.
That's a great way to think about it. It's about making conscious choices that reflect who you truly are, not who you think you should be.
Exactly. And remember, authenticity isn't about being perfect. It's about being real relatable and allowing yourself to be seen, imperfections and all.
Okay, that makes sense. What about Guidepost 2, cultivating self-compassion? I know we talked about letting go and perfectionism, but how do we actually practice self-compassion in a tangible way?
Well, one helpful technique is to talk to yourself the way you would talk to a friend who's struggling. Would you berate them for making a mistake? Of course not. You'd offer them kindness, understanding, and support.
So instead of beating myself up for a setback, I should try to offer myself words of encouragement and remind myself that everyone makes mistakes.
Exactly. And remember the three elements of self-compassion we talked about earlier: self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. Practice being kind to yourself, acknowledge that you're not alone in your struggles, and observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment.
This is so helpful.
Mm.
I'm realizing that self-compassion is not about weakness or letting ourselves off the hook. It's about creating a more supportive inner environment where we can learn and grow.
Exactly. When you're kind to yourself, you're more likely to take risks, learn from your mistakes, and bounce back from setbacks.
Okay, Guidepost 3, cultivating a resilient spirit. We talked about letting go of numbing and powerlessness, but what are some active steps we can take to build resilience?
Start by acknowledging your vulnerability. It's okay to feel scared, uncertain, or even overwhelmed when facing a challenge. Pushing those feelings away only makes them stronger.
So instead of trying to pretend everything's fine, we should allow ourselves to feel those uncomfortable emotions.
Yes. And then focus on what you can control. You might not be able to control the market or the actions of your competitors, but you can control your effort, your attitude, and how you choose to respond to setbacks.
That's a powerful reminder. It's about focusing on what we can influence rather than feeling helpless.
Precisely. Now let's move on to Guidepost 4. Cultivating gratitude and joy. I know we talked about letting go of scarcity and fear of the dark, but what are some practical ways to cultivate gratitude?
I'm all about practical tips. I've heard so much about gratitude journals, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Gratitude journals can be a great tool. The simple act of writing down a few things you're grateful for each day can shift your focus from what's missing to what you have. It's a simple practice, but it can have a profound impact on your mindset.
It's about training our minds to see the good, even when things are tough. It's like choosing to focus on the abundance in your life rather than the scarcity.
Exactly. And don't forget to celebrate small wins. We often get so caught up in striving for the next big goal that we forget to appreciate the progress we're making along the way. Celebrating those small victories can help us stay motivated and maintain a positive outlook.
You know, it reminds me of something Anil Nathu often talks about in 1 Hour Guide, the power of acknowledging and celebrating our achievements no matter how big or small.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that every step forward is worth celebrating.
Now, Guidepost 5, cultivating intuition and trusting faith. This is about letting go of the need for certainty and embracing the unknown. This was particularly challenging for me as I tend to overanalyze and crave certainty. Any advice for someone like me?
Start by paying attention to your gut feelings. We often dismiss our intuition as just a feeling, but it's actually a powerful source of wisdom. It's informed by our experiences, our knowledge, and even our subconscious mind. It's like having this inner compass that's been guiding us all along, but we've been ignoring its signals.
So it's not just some random hunch. It's actually based on a deeper understanding of the situation. It's like that feeling you get when something just feels off, even if you can't quite explain why.
Exactly. And remember, you don't have to have all the answers before you take action. Sometimes the best way to gain clarity is to take a small step forward and see what happens. Trust that you'll figure it out as you go along.
It's about trusting the process and having faith that things will unfold as they're meant to. It's about surrendering to the unknown and having confidence that we can handle whatever comes our way.
Precisely. And when it comes to faith, remember, we're not talking about blind belief or religious dogma. It's about having trust in yourself, in your abilities, and in the bigger picture, even when you can't see the whole path ahead.
Okay, moving on to Guidepost 6, cultivating creativity. We talk about letting go of comparison, but what are some practical strategies for unleashing our creativity? I'm always looking for ways to boost my creativity. What are your top tips?
One of the best things you can do is to create a judgment-free zone. Give yourself permission to experiment, make mistakes, and explore new ideas without worrying about whether they're good or not. It's like giving yourself permission to play.
It's about silencing that inner critic and allowing ourselves to play and explore without fear of judgment.
Exactly. Remember when we were kids, how we would spend hours drawing, building forts, and coming up with imaginative games? We weren't worried about being perfect or impressing anyone. We were just having fun and letting our imaginations run wild.
And somewhere along the way, we lost that sense of playfulness and freedom.
We did, but we can reclaim it. Another important tip is to seek inspiration from diverse sources. Read books outside of your field, attend workshops, talk to people with different perspectives. The more you expose yourself to new ideas and experiences, the more your creativity will flourish.
It's about expanding our horizons and challenging ourselves to think outside the box. And that reminds me of something Anil Nathu always says, if you want to be more creative, be more curious.
I love that curiosity is the fuel for creativity.
Okay, Guidepost 7. Cultivating play and rest. I know we discussed the importance of letting go of exhaustion as a status symbol, but how do we actually make time for play and rest when we're so busy?
It starts with shifting your mindset. View rest and play as essential parts of a productive and fulfilling life, not as rewards you earn after working hard. They're not luxuries, they're necessities.
It's about recognizing that downtime is not a luxury, it's a necessity. And that's a hard one for a lot of us, especially those of us who are driven and ambitious.
It is. But think about it this way. When you're well rested and you allow yourself to have fun, you're actually more productive in the long run. You're more focused, more creative, and more likely to make good decisions.
And you're probably nicer to be around, too.
Exactly. So make it a non-negotiable part of your schedule. Block out time for activities that bring you joy and relaxation, just like you would schedule any other important meeting or task.
So whether it's reading, spending time in nature, or pursuing a hobby, we need to prioritize those activities and make time for them.
Absolutely. And here's a practical tip. Schedule your downtime in your calendar, just like you would a work meeting. That way you're less likely to overbook yourself, and you're more likely to actually stick to your commitment to rest and play.
That's a great idea. I'm going to try that this week.
Now, Guidepost 8. Cultivating calm and stillness. We talked about letting go of anxiety as a lifestyle, but what are some practical techniques for cultivating calm in the midst of chaos?
I'm always looking for ways to manage stress and find more peace in my life.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Absolutely. We live in a world that's constantly bombarding us with information demands and expectations. It's no wonder so many of us feel anxious and overwhelmed. But the good news is we can learn to cultivate calm and stillness even in the midst of chaos.
So give us the tools. What are some practical techniques we can use?
One of the most powerful techniques is mindfulness meditation. Even just a few minutes of meditation each day can help you train your mind to focus on the present moment and let go of anxious thoughts. It's about creating a space between you and your thoughts so you're not so reactive to them.
I've heard so much about meditation, but I've always been intimidated by it. Any advice for beginners?
Start small. Even just 5 minutes a day can make a difference. Find a quiet spot, sit comfortably, and focus on your breath. Notice the rise and fall of your chest, the feeling of the air entering and leaving your nostrils.
And what if my mind starts to wander?
That's totally normal. Don't judge yourself. Just gently guide your attention back to your breath. There are also tons of apps and guided meditations available online, which can be a great way to get started.
Okay, I'm willing to give it a try.
Yeah.
What about Guidepost 9? Cultivating Meaningful Work. How do we actually let go of self-doubt and the supposed-to mentality when it comes to our careers?
Well, it starts with remembering that meaningful work is not a one-size-fits-all concept. It's about finding work that aligns with your unique values, passions, and skills.
So it's not about chasing some external definition of success. It's about finding what feels fulfilling and purposeful for you.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment. You might need to try different things before you find what truly resonates with you. Take courses, volunteer, or even start a side hustle to explore different career paths.
It's about taking action and exploring our options, even if we're not sure where we'll end up. And I think that can be really scary for a lot of people.
It can be, but it can also be incredibly liberating. Think about it this way. You have one precious life. Why not spend it doing something you love?
And it's never too late to make a change.
Never. And finally, Guidepost 10. Cultivating laughter, song, and dance. This is about letting go of the need to be cool and embracing joy and spontaneity.
This one always makes me smile because it reminds me of the importance of having fun and not taking ourselves too seriously.
It's so easy to get caught up in the seriousness of work and life. But laughter, song, and dance are powerful reminders to lighten up and enjoy the ride.
So what are some practical ways to incorporate these expressions of joy into our lives?
Make time for activities that bring you joy. Whether it's spending time with loved ones listening to music or dancing around your living room, prioritize those activities that make you feel alive. And don't be afraid to be silly. Life is too short to take ourselves too seriously.
It's about giving ourselves permission to be silly, to have fun, and to express ourselves freely. And as leaders, we can model this for our teams. We can create a work environment where it's okay to laugh, to be ourselves, and to have fun.
Exactly. And when people feel safe and happy at work, they're more likely to be engaged, creative, and productive.
All right, that was a fantastic deep dive into Brené Brown's 10 guideposts for wholehearted living. I feel like I have a much clearer understanding of how to put these principles into practice.
It's not just about understanding the concepts. It's about taking action and incorporating these practices into our daily lives. That's where the real transformation happens.
Absolutely. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination. Be patient with yourself, celebrate your progress, and keep experimenting until you find what works for you.
Yeah.
We're all work in progress, right?
We are, and that's okay.
All right, before we move on to part 3, I just want to remind everyone to check out 1 Hour Guide by Anil Nathu for more incredible insights and resources on leadership, entrepreneurship, and personal growth.
It's an amazing resource for anyone looking to live a more fulfilling and purposeful life.
Now, are you ready to wrap things up with a final thought-provoking question to leave our listeners with? I'm ready for that final thought.
Yeah.
What should our listeners be pondering as they go about their day?
Think about one area of your life. Maybe it's your work, your relationships, or even just your own personal growth, where you could really benefit from one of these guideposts.
Right.
What's one small step you can take today to start practicing it?
I love that. It's not about overhauling our lives overnight.
Right.
It's about those small, consistent actions that add up over time. Maybe it's starting a gratitude journal. Setting aside 5 minutes for a breathing exercise when you feel stressed, or even just giving yourself permission to take a break and do something fun.
Exactly. We don't have to wait for the perfect time or the perfect circumstances to start living more wholeheartedly.
Right.
We can start right now with whatever we have, wherever we are.
And it's a journey, not a destination, right?
Of course.
There will be times when we fall back into old patterns.
Yeah.
When we struggle to practice these guideposts.
Wholehearted living isn't about being perfect.
Right.
It's about being aware, being intentional, and being kind to ourselves along the way.
Yeah.
It's about progress, not perfection.
And it's about recognizing that we're all in this together.
Yeah.
We all have our struggles, our insecurities, and our imperfections.
Right.
But when we embrace those parts of ourselves, when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we open ourselves up to deeper connection, greater joy, and a more fulfilling life.
Beautifully said. And remember, you don't have to do this alone.
Right.
Reach out to a friend, a mentor, or a therapist for support. Read books. Listen to podcasts like 1 Hour Guide by Anil Nathu. And find resources that resonate with you.
There's a whole community of people out there who are on this journey of wholehearted living. And we can learn from and support each other along the way.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of it. When we embrace vulnerability and connection, we realize that we're not alone. We're all in this together.
Thank you for joining us today. Visit the 1 Hour Guide website for more business insights by Anil Nathu.